Hello, everyone. Welcome to LLK number 71. That is Knit with Laura and Lola, my alter ego. For those of you that are new to my lives, my name is Laura Nelkin. I'm a knitwear designer. I live in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region, and I am joined by my alter ego, Lola. Lola is highly amusing. She's pretty funny. She's going to be somewhat inappropriate this evening, so I hope that you're comfortable with that. I never do anything to like break YouTube's guidelines, so we keep it safe and good. I see so many of you over in the chat chatting away with each other. Y'all are introducing yourselves and say where you are watching from. That is really fun. Those of you who came earlier and were chatting, you were talking about what you were knitting and what you were set up with on your needles. So go ahead and use that chat if you are watching live. If you have watched my lives before, you know that I try to be pretty careful to not be looking over at the chat because I get distracted very, very easily by your chatter. I will look over now and again just to make sure that the stream is working well and that there aren't any really obvious questions. But towards the end of the live, I will ask you if there are any questions, and then I will wait for you to ask them in the chat. So if you have a question while I am talking, if you post it in the chatter, if the moderators or somebody else in there, Susie's my awesome moderator, they might be able to answer you, but otherwise I'm not going to see that question. So not the best place to ask me why your stitch count is off on row 13 of Into the Hoods. If that's like, for example, those questions are best to be asked over in the Facebook group or Ravelry group. So without further ado, let's jump right into this live because I have so much to share with you. I came back from Rhinebeck. I have a few goodies to show you. I've got some stories to tell. We are deep into the woods, knitting Into the Hoods together, and I've got a few kind of Q&A things that I noticed that have come up in the last few days that I thought I would cover. I know many of you are knitting your Into the Hoods right now. If you want to, in the chat thread, in the live chat, if you're watching live, go ahead and say what you're knitting on right now while you're watching this. I understand that once you really get into knitting, you're not also going to be wanting to type in the chat. I completely get that. That would be me if I was you and I was knitting and watching something. So go ahead and do whatever you would like. The other thing I want to acknowledge is that I know tonight there is a big sports ball game that starts at 8 p.m. I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern time, not totally sure. And so I'm going to try to keep this a little shorter for those of you that are in the middle of watching the World Series and don't want to miss out on this game. What I do know about baseball is there's a lot of innings, so you won't miss that many innings if you stay with me a little longer and then cut off for baseball. Just wanted to acknowledge the excitement of sports ball right now for those of you who are watching it. Um, I've been knitting. I have a lot off the needles. I don't have very much on the needles right now, and I'll talk about all of that first, and then we'll kind of dive into some Into the Hood stuff and travel stuff. So off the needles, I had a big photo shoot on Monday that I was a little bit secretive about because there wasn't really much I could show you without giving anything away. And I had lots to finish knitting, swatches for new kits, the pieces. I did some sewing for the photo shoot. I got the November Lola's Choice designs with an S on the end. We got all the photography done for that along with the kits. We got the next N Club project shot along with kits for that. We got a few other things that have kind of been in the works. And then I've started doing the photo shoots for all of the hoods because since I knit of them, if I like waited until the last like minute basically when they're ready to launch in December and didn't have any of the photos taken, all of those photos would like look the same. And I think what's really fun about knitting a lot of something is I can show you them styled different ways and like in different environments. So we are just like living peak fall in upstate New York right now. Did I say that I live in upstate New York outside the Finger Lakes region? I think I forgot to say that. And right now at home, this is what it's looking like. This is Taganic Falls maybe 2 weeks ago. I got some photos today, but it was so sunny and bright that you could hardly see it. And then this is my favorite view out kind of my front door along my neighbor's tree line. And I take a photo of it every year when the leaves start to change. Their burning bushes always go before our burning bushes. So ours are like just starting to turn, but Rexy's are in full swing, which I absolutely love. So it's been gorgeous up here. We're really having a good fall. I thought we weren't going to with the drought, but leaning right into that, and we got a bunch of really good shots in the woods with the changing leaves the other day for 2 of the 6 hoods that I've knit. Um, what else? Oh, the other thing that's off my needles is the design for Knit Spain. I'm leaving for Spain a week from Friday. I'll be there a week from Saturday with a group for 10 days, and I did a design for them. I'm going to say it's a very close match to what I designed last year. And I did something where Max was like, "Oh, you fingered it out." So there's a few little hints for you for that design. It will release probably in December at some point, but pretty fun. I'm excited for you all to see that. We did photos for that too. If you are in the N Club, which is my larger knitted kit club, that kit is hopefully shipping before I leave for Spain. That is the plan. And then the designs will be revealed the Sunday before Thanksgiving. So it'll be a really fun knit to get on the needles once you make it through Thanksgiving and you're wanting to knit on something, or into December for gifts, whatever you prefer. That is the plan for those of you in the N Club. If you are in, and the N Club's a sold out club right now, but Lola's Choice, which is my small knitted kit club, the November designs are very fun. They are very bling filled. I am describing this kit as like a joy maker on your needles. You can't help but just like feel the love and excitement when you're knitting it. It's an absolute blast. It's a project that will go very, very quickly. There's a fun little extra in there that y'all have been asking me for over a year. So I don't want to give too much away. There are still spots in that club, but what's going to happen with Lola's Choice is going to ship on hopefully Monday, maybe Tuesday, but then anybody who signs up after I ship, I'll have to close signups on Thursday because I'm leaving for Spain. So it's not one of those kits where you can kind of like wait until you see what the design is to sign up. I'm going to have to kind of close things off just to get everything out the door. But very excited for that. On the needles, there's a few things I can't show you. A few things I can show you are the Into the Hoods, which I have on my needles. I'm wearing Roofline, which was last year's third N Club kit, and there are kits for Roofline in my Etsy shop. So sometimes a year later, after I release an N Club design, I'll do a short run of kits. This is knit in Sea Change Fibers Shoreline Sport, which is an absolutely lovely like wool and linen and silk yarn. It's a sport weight yarn. I figured out a way to do entrelac with Stitch Saver so you don't need to pick up stitches. It uses Lola's pickup line. So if you have never knit entrelac before and you're wanting to try entrelac, Roofline, the pattern has a full detailed video tutorial. It's like 50 minutes long of me showing you every step and how to build that entrelac up together. It's knit in 2 halves and then grafted up at the top. So some people who knit Roofline actually knit 2 halves and like kind of wear them separately or gifted one and kept one. I chose to graft mine together and have 2 that kind of split at the center. If you're joining late, don't worry, you can always watch the rest of this later. It's recorded and it'll be on YouTube. Sorry, I read the comments like a bad person. Looking at all of my notes, Cowltober was very fun. So I released let's get back. I released a new pattern, Ceci Cowl, for Cowltober. Ceci Cowl used two yarns that I got when I was in Argentina, that I designed this cowl for my trip to South America with a bunch of knitters last March, and I was kind of saving it to release it for Cowltober. I have one last kit left for Ceci Cowl, the exact same yarns that I used with beads. And this kit is going to be a prize for the comments that you left on the last live. So I will announce the winner at the end of this kit. I know that's a surprise. I didn't really tell you guys. I've been starting to like not tell you what prizes are, and then you're surprised and a little like, man, I wish I commented. I wished I got that done in time. Kind of fun. So I'm excited to announce the winner for that at the end of the live. Losing my words. Cowltober has been really fun. Cowltober is October where we knit cowls. I've been doing it for the last like 6 or 7 years, I think. This year I released or kind of reminded us of a cowl a day. I have way more than 30 cowls that I've designed over the time. And on that day, the cowl was 50% off for that day. And last weekend, I plumb ran out of steam for posting a cowl a day. I had so much else to tell you about with Into the Hoods and other things that were going on. I decided that I would just make all of my cowls BOGO, which is buy one, get one free. So until the end of October, all of my cowl patterns, including Ceci Cowl and Roofline, are 50% are BOGO. So buy one, get one free, which is basically 50% off. And if you missed out on a day that I was highlighting a pattern, this is a way to like kind of swing back to all of them. Or if I didn't highlight a pattern you were wishing I was going to highlight, I try to do that. Agree with the so many knits, too little time comment that I just saw with the corner of my eyeball. Things I want to talk about Into the Hoods. So Into the Hoods is our current mystery knit along. I have to assume that a few of you are watching this don't know what Into the Hoods is, although I know many of you do. So a mystery knit along is when you don't know what you're knitting and you are sent clues on a schedule, and then you knit through that clue, and then on the next day a clue is released, you knit the next part of the mystery knit along. So Into the Hoods is six hood designs in one pattern. There's one color and two color options and three different shapes. A balaclava, which is the style of hood where something can kind of like come up over your mouth or be a cowl around your neck. A dicky, which in my shape for Into the Hoods kind of goes all the way around your neck, a little bit like Roofline is fitting me right now, again with that hood attached. And then finally the third version is a hood with a scarf, which I've been wanting to design one of those for a while. So there's three different shapes and then a one color and two color option. You decide which you're going to knit at the beginning because that is the yardage you need to find for the shape and version that you're making. But a few people asked me today, they were like, I'm knitting the single color, dicky or whatever, and I really love the bush stitch. Can I do the two color version with only one color? So instead of like switching MC and CC, just like use a gradient or use a solid gray or whatever. And the answer to that is yes, you totally can. That is easy to do. You just need to make sure you have closer to the yardage for the two color option, adding the MC and the CC together, because the stitches doing that bush stitch uses up a lot more yarn. So if you only have enough yarn for doing the single color and you switch over to doing the bushes, you might find that you would run out of yarn. So that is something to keep an eye on if you want to make that change. One person in the Ravelry group tonight asked if she already did clue 1 for the single color and she wanted to switch and do clue 2 with the bushes also in a single color. And that is a little bit more challenging because the stitch count is different. So the only way to do that would be to kind of rip back part of clue one, add on some more rows, make sure that you're going to end up with the stitch count that's correct for the two color version, and continue on with that. And what I'm going to tell you is mystery knit-alongs are challenging to make lots of changes to because you don't know what's coming. And I am happy to help you think something out, but I'm not going to do the math for you if you want to make that change. I'm going to assume if you're confident making a change, that you're confident doing the math to make that change. And if you're not confident in doing that, then I would say probably not a good idea to go like way far off pattern right now. Does that make sense to everybody as kind of like a rubric for like, should I do that or not? I have to, when I do mystery knit along, set some limits. Otherwise, I'll end up like rewriting the pattern 17 different ways. And there's already 6 options. The pattern is already 25 pages long. It's crazy. So we are on clue 2 right now of Into the Hoods. So far for clue 1 and clue 2, all of the people doing the one color are staying together and doing the same thing. And all of the people doing the 2 color are staying together and doing the same thing. When we get to clue 3, that is where all of our paths are going to divide. And what I'm going to do to make that easier is there's actually going to be 2 versions of the pattern at that point. There's going to be a 1 color version and a 2 color version. And I will remember to remind you of that in the video for clue 3, because that way you're not going to be like scrubbing through the pattern for all of these instructions that you're not going to use. We already had somebody in the Ravelry group today get very confused about stitch count, and she realized she was on the wrong page, which I know is a possibility. And I try to remind you all to keep an eye on that as you're working things if you ever get confused. The groups have been amazing. And I want to thank you all for your like positive attitudes and your willingness to help each other. I find every time a clue launches, the first like 48 hours, I am on it answering questions, because those are the times that you all don't know what you're doing. And those are the questions that I know I can set you all on the right path. But what happens is you all start knitting and you see what's happening on your needles and you understand and you're able to help each other, which is so freaking cool to kind of like start to watch the community gel around a clue and support each other. And I'm used to it. I've done a lot of mystery knit-alongs, but it never doesn't excite me, the energy that gets built and the positive community. And I don't know about you, but knitting is the thing that brings us together right now. It's like crossing divides, and I need it. I say this every year, but this year it's true. I need it more than ever, and I think you all do too. And I think it's part of why we're staying so positive. I do find that if people get a little negative or a little angsty, I'm just going to kill you with kindness. We're going to figure out how to like shift the dynamic, get you moving forward with your stitches, and take care of any frustration that you're feeling. So if you come at me with a positive attitude, I am right back there with you. But it's very important for me to keep that energy alive, not like in a toxic, gross way, but just in a like, this should be our happy place, and we should all have success and help each other get there. So I'm going to get off my little positivity soapbox now. One of the things I loved in the Facebook group is people were like, well, maybe I'll knit another one. Like, I like this one and it's okay, but maybe I want to do a 2-color one. And someone, I forget who it was, came up with the model, don't redo, just make 2. So a lot of people have cast on more than one Into the Hoods, which is going to be very fun to see both of those happening. One of the things that's happening with Into the Hoods is there's a week break between clue 3 and clue 4. So those of you who've decided to knit 2, you've kind of had a catch-up week, or if you fall behind because of life or other knitting or whatever, you've got that week to catch up between clue 3 and clue 4, which I think is going to be very helpful. Another question I got is about weaving in ends, and if it is okay to weave in your ends as you start to work clue 2 so that you don't have any ends hanging around and they're already woven in. And the answer to that is heck yeah, weave in those ends. Sometimes I don't trim my ends all the way until I block, just in case they worm out, but you're not going to be blocking your hood aggressively, which would cause an end to kind of pop out. So especially if your yarn isn't too super slippery, you could go ahead and trim your ends. If you're working with a yarn that's slippery and is going to move a little bit as you block, you might still want to leave like a 3 or 4 inch end just so it doesn't like pop right out, and then you can trim it after blocking. I think those are all the questions. I'm looking over just to see if there's any questions that I'm missing that would have to do with this, but I'm not seeing any pop right up, which is fabulous, and I love it. I'm going to say the only thing I'm disappointed in you all in is y'all know I'm a dirty little thing and I love a dirty joke. And there has been no jokes about like a dicky in a bush just walked into the woods and then they met a man. Like none of that. Like no one's been being as randy as I thought they would be with my bush stitch and my dicky shape, and that's fine. I love y'all. Maybe you'll start now. I need some Snickers in my life. I need to giggle. I see Virginia Corbin said, "What do I do if I made a ball and I don't have an end?" Virginia, there were instructions in the pattern that if you were going to do that, you should cut off a 24-inch length before you started if you worked the two color. And I reminded you of that in the Clue 1 video, and it was written in the pattern, so I'm super sorry if you didn't see that. I don't know if you have a second ball that you can pull from, or you might end up deciding that you're going to cut your yarn and have two ends to weave in. That's kind of the solution to that problem. I've got my eye over here. We are all looking good in the chatter. I think it would be fun to talk about Rhinebeck a little bit because Rhinebeck was very fun. Oh, I know one more thing I wanted to show you, kind of about yarn and into the hood. So let's go ahead and do this over the overhead camera. This is the into the hoods that I am knitting right now. It is a single color, and I am working it with two yarns held together. I am working it with Explorer Knits that I got when I was at Flock in midwinter. And then I'm holding it together with some biches and bouches in Le Petit Lamb's Wool. And you'll see that it's making this kind of like really like brown lavender, lovely kind of almost solid color yarn. It's got little hints of lavender in it. But when I took pictures of it, particularly, let me see if I remember where that photo is. We might have to look at it later. I think it's kind of buried, the photo I'm thinking of it. I was at Connected Stitches for an Into the Hoods cast on party, and we took a picture of my first clue, and I was like, wow, that's kind of boring looking. And I got worried that it wasn't going to go well with my skin color, or it wasn't going to look good with my coat. And so I decided to get this Jamieson and Smith in this grayish lavender color that was much like lighter and brighter, and hold it together with the Explorer knit. So I kind of like put this one on hold, and then I cast on another Clue one with just some of that to try it. And I got a little ways in, and one, my gauge was too big. So I was gonna, because I didn't do a gauge swatch because I'm a bad person. So I was gonna have to rip out and start again. And second, I didn't actually like the way it looked. It's kind of like the stitches are more obvious. It doesn't have that kind of cohesion that this one has. So my friend came over one morning to kind of talk about a sewing project, and we looked at these together, and then Max chimed in, and we all decided that that this was the answer. Not this version. I don't know if you all agree with me or not. I even tried to get a photo of them, and it was very hard to photo to show you the difference of the two of them. But I just love the gentle cohesion of this, and that is what I decided to go with. And this will get ripped out at some point. And I did get 3 balls of this Jamieson and Smith, but I'm always going to use Jamieson and Smith jumper weight for something. And it's this really Might be easier to see it in the forward facing camera. It's this really beautiful, like light lavender gray that's a really, really pretty lavender. So I know it'll become something kind of fun to show you that I also have indecision. Sometimes I knit and rip and knit and rip. Sometimes I can't decide for the life of me. That one was hard, but I did it. The other weekend, not last weekend, but the weekend before Into the Hoods launched, I went to New York State Sheep and Wool. My dear friend Andrea flew into Elmira, New York, which is the airport I prefer to fly into and out of for this area. And she and I drove down to Rhinebeck together to stay with our buddy Julie Beth. We have been doing this for years. There's a few years we haven't done it, but almost every year, this is the thing we do. And for the last 4 years, we have signed up for classes on Thursday, which is why we go down on Wednesday. So, New York State Sheep and Wool is the largest wool festival in the US. It's a bit infamous. Sometimes it's called Rhinebeck, sometimes it's called New York State Sheep and Wool. There are classes, there are vendors, there are sheep. It's like the whole shebang. There's sheep dog trials, there's sheep to shawl competitions, there's leaping llamas. There is a ton to do. I never do it all. But one of the things that happens is the classes start on Thursday. So some of the vendors who are like expert artisans will teach classes on Thursday and Friday before they vend on Saturday and Sunday. So there is a basket maker, Wendy Jensen, who teaches basket classes that sell out in, I'd say, less than 30 seconds, about 3 or 4 months before. And I'm not going to tell you how to sign up because then you're going to make it harder for me to get into classes. But we've taken classes with her. I've taken classes with her 3 out of the last 4 years. Last year I didn't get in and I learned how to make brooms instead. But this is the basket that I made this year with Wendy. And I joke and I say Wendy's basket classes are like Wendy's making 12 baskets in 7 hours. And we're all helping her do that because you'll like do a step on the basket and then she'll come around and like fix it and tell you what to do for the next step, and then you'll work on that, and then she'll come around and fix it, and then you'll do the next step. And she's doing that in like all 12 of ours baskets, and in the end everybody has a gorgeous basket that they made with Wendy's help. This one still needs to be stained, which I probably won't do to the springtime. It's a traditional harvest basket, so you can see that. I think I have to like even out that little foot right there. You can see it's got these little feet on the bottom to keep it up off the ground just a teeny tiny bit, and then it's got holes and the lattice work in the bottom, and that is for like your fruit to breathe a little bit, or your dirt to fall through, or your bugs to be able to get out of your basket. Very excited about this basket. I know we're going to use it a lot in the garden next year. I really love the sturdy wooden handle. I was joking that it was my wool harvest basket, and I was going to put all of the wool that I was buying at Sheep and Wool into it. So basket making class. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. That was the photo I was going to show you later. Basket making class on Thursday. There's Wendy standing next to me, and then Andrea and Julie Beth, and our new friend Erin, who we adopted at our table. Absolutely fell in love with her. She's adorable. We had a great time together. I hope my sense of humor didn't shock her too much. You can see that everybody else went for this really decorative little braid in their basket, this little like lattice braid with a different color. And I chose to just kind of go standard and go with just the natural colored rattan. That was just what I was feeling that day. There's our baskets close up. We always try to do the selfie that is incredibly hard to take, and it was really sunny. Sun makes for hard basket making photos. Very fun day. And then on Friday we went to Woolen Affair. And Woolen Affair, I took a few photos. After that, I took no photos. So I love going to Rhinebeck, but I don't love always that. This is like a semi-contentious statement I'm about to make. I I love when Rhinebeck is about connecting with people and looking at yarn and being together and seeing each other's glorious knits. I don't love when Rhinebeck starts to feel like it's happening for like social media clout or kind of like assets, if you will, like taking photos so you can share them later so you can like prove that you were there. And so we started out at Woolen Affair and there were like so many photos being taken and it was fun and the lighting in there is beautiful and it was great, but it's also like not why I'm there. So once we kind of made it halfway through Woolen Affair, I kind of shifted the energy a little bit and just got into talking to people and not taking pictures with people. And it made the rest of the weekend so much fun. And it's not that I wasn't having fun before, but I'd so much rather just be with everybody and chat. I got to see Jen Hohenboken, who did the Love and Light pattern with me, and we'd never met in real life, and that was a blast. I got to meet a designer, Olga. I think her last name is like Puta, I forget how to say her last name. She's Ukrainian. And I found out she lives just south of Binghamton. We met in the bathroom and I think we're going to hang out at some point. She's totally lovely. I got to see Yarnies I hadn't seen forever, Verb for Keeping Warm. It was so great to catch up with Christine and Adrian. And I don't have photos of all of that. And that's awesome. And really what I appreciate. Does that make sense to everybody? So here's Andrea and Julie Beth and I feeling fresh, wandering around, shopping away. We kept getting like hot and cold as we were in there. So we were layering and unlayering. Here are a few dear friends I ran into, Cheryl on the left, and then Catherine Myers, who was wearing a gorgeous lake hug. And then I was wearing carte blanche, which I knit with MKAL baby lace. And I got to take a picture with Paola and show it to her in real life. She'd never seen it in person. So that was really fun to get to connect with them. And then on Saturday, I told myself when I woke up Saturday morning that I was going to take lots of pictures of my designs on people. And I started out that way. And then I ended up with like 4 by the end because I just put my phone away and decided, and other people took photos and shared those with me. But really, it was about talking and not, I know y'all get it. I don't need to say it again. And this is how I choose to do Rhinebeck. And I love it every year. So, it was No King's Day on Saturday of Rhinebeck, and we had some monarch butterfly action happening, which I absolutely adored. And then I found a Novus knit pouch over in the Green Mountain Spinnery booth. And then that is Jean wearing a Cowltopus, and I love that she had her Cowltopus to show me because I know she was carrying it around and not wearing it the whole time, but she put it on for the meetup with her polka, which was awesome. And here Sharon was wearing a Beauteous that was absolutely beauteous, layered over a gorgeous white cabled sweater. And it was so fun to see so many of you. And that is what I adored about Rhinebeck. And those are all my photos because I'm having a healthy relationship with my phone. How about we call it that? Healthy relationship. I would then going to say that we had a very fun dinner at Julie Beth's. Oh, I guess that photo didn't get in here. There was a great photo of us at a fire pit Saturday night outside at Julie Beth's. We made s'mores with the leftover marshmallows from the Into the Hoods kit, and they were like so yummy and so good, and that was really fun. And then Sunday morning, I woke up with the world's worst sore throat, and I had to stay in bed. So all that is to say, I got 2 skeins of yarn at Rhinebeck and then a few books that I got beforehand. And I know it's really fun to be like, look what I got at Rhinebeck because it's all about supporting the vendors and supporting local crafters and artisans. And so I want to show you what I got, but it's so little because normally Saturday is my hugging day and then Sunday is my shopping day because I've gotten my hugging out of my system. But I mean, maybe it was the most affordable Rhinebeck I've ever been to. We could put it like that. So, the only yarn that I've got some yarn from Jill that she gave me, and then the only yarn I was actually also gifted is Miss Bab's new yarn, which is called Billow.
And it's a worsted weight yarn that's a 51% baby alpaca and 49% Pima cotton. It is very, very, very similar to Snefnug, which you all might have knit with before. I've done a few designs in Snefnug. I did a Tosca vest. I did the Twistola headband. This is a little lighter than Snefnug. Snefnug's more of an Aran weight. And I got it because I thought I wanted to knit and into the hoods, another one, a single colored one. But I actually think it would make a gorgeous Tosca vest, or it I have an idea for a sweater, and maybe it wants to be that. And I just noticed that Sue said, wow, it's very similar to your roof line. Yes, and that is because this is my signature color, and I love it, and I will always have it in 100 different things. It's my favorite. It's a little pop-in without being like too orange or too yellow, and I love it. And I have two skeins of it, which I'm not sure that that is going to be enough for the sweater I have in my mind. So I'll have to figure that out with Miss Babs, because I know there's dye lots, so it's not like I can just get two more skeins. We'll figure it out. We're grown-ups. Um, I did on the way down to Rhinebeck, stop at Fruition Chocolates right before they closed. We went to Fruition Chocolates, and they had these really yummy pumpkin spice chocolate truffles that Andrea had read about in a magazine. And they taste nothing like fake PSL flavoring, which I do not like at all. They have like a pumpkin seed gianduja and other pumpkin seeds and butternut squash and salted caramel and like a little bit of peppercorn and ginger and nutmeg. And they were so good. And Max and I already ate our whole tin, sadly. And then this one's for my father-in-law, but I'm going to give it to him on Sunday when we're there so that we can also enjoy it with him. That's my little secret. I'm hoping he doesn't like go put it in a cabinet far away from us and that we don't get to share it with him. I also got some books at Oblong Books in Rhinebeck. Typically on Thursday, we do a little shopping in Rhinebeck after we do our basket making class. And I got a book that just came out by Erin Goyaga. I'm going to just say that. And I gotten her other book on gluten-free baking from the library, and it's superb. I've been gluten-free for a year and a half, and I've been diving into gluten-free baking now that I have an oven, and I'm really excited about her recipes. I will say with gluten-free baking, I now have like what feels like 69 different flours in my cabinet. Like lightly ground sweet rice flour, like heavily milled brown rice flour, like so many different permutations, sorghum flour, oat flour, millet flour, tapioca starch, all the flours. And a lot of them are used in this book. And I've been slowly diving in. Over the weekend, I made gluten-free English muffins from the Loopy Whisk that turned out great, and they're yummy to have for breakfast. So I'm excited to be like baking for myself again instead of like buying gluten-free stuff from Trader Joe's. It just feels I like being a little closer to my food when possible. The best book that I was gifted um this weekend is Nudie Knits at Home by Sarah Simi. I believe this is a British book because some of the humor is super British. Do y'all want to see it with me under the camera? Is this going to be shocking? Roxana, I highly suggest that book if you're celiac. It's really interesting. We're good with some Nudie Knits right now? I know, I got y'all giggling. Um, so Nudie Knits at Home, 19 naughty knitting patterns for home accessories. You know, this book had to be mine. Um, it is like from start to finish, it is highly amusing. Little bit shocking at times, kind of funny. Just gonna let the pictures do their own thing. We've got a nice, let's see if I can find, we got a nice fabulous pecker wall hanging over here. We'll turn some pages, you'll get to see. Just kind of let you enjoy my new favorite book. It's quite whimsical, just a little bit dirty. I mean, some of it's downright shocking in that British humor kind of way. Gotta love this tea cozy right here. I learned she calls things a marrow in here a lot. I learned that a marrow is a large zucchini, like I call those baseball bats in my garden. But here is a whole, I don't want to like give the whole book away, so I'm going to try to go quickly. We got a private area pillow. We got, oh, that's a good one. Here's somebody who really likes to cook outside. Pretty fun. So if you have a friend who might need to make this sign for their chicken coop, I highly suggest this book. I see y'all giggling in the comments. Pretty fun one. It's not for everybody, but the people it's for, they want it. I was also gifted something amazing by my friend Erin, who I see in the comments. And I can't show it to you because YouTube will take me down, but it's like my new favorite stitch marker. Thank you, Erin. That's all I'm going to say. I feel seen. You saw me. The next book I got is a sticker book that I bought for my friend Thea, who's not watching right now. But I can't give it to her because I love it too much. So I have to find her own. And I got this at Oblong Books as well. And I've been looking for like someone indie who sells it online to send to her. I do think I found them on Amazon, but I prefer not to do that, especially when I bought something from an indie store to begin with. And it is an infamous Haunted Dolls sticker book. Y'all know I have like a crazy thing with scary babies. And this one's particularly highly amusing. You've got a good head on your shoulders. I mean, I just want to put these stickers like in people's Etsy orders just to surprise them a little bit. You act like collecting your hair is something weird or something. You're a shoo-in. There's some even better ones. I like that one. Being dead has its perks, like effortless smoky eyes. I think like this sticker just randomly on a card, you know that's good. Ooh, Nudie Knits wall calendar. You guys. I'm going to turn to my favorite one to kind of end showing you these. I'm just letting you read. They're so funny. See if I can find it without showing you every page. Okay, we're going to end with this one. This scary, scary baby says, "Is that rigor mortis, or are you just happy to see me?" Lola loves this book so much. So yeah, I got some good gems at Rhinebeck. The other thing that I got right before Rhinebeck, which was launched at Rhinebeck by my buddy Jill Draper. So I made it to Jill Draper's party on my way out on Sunday, but I stayed because I like my sore throat was really bugging me. And I know that's like when you're the most contagious. I stayed like way on the edges. And everyone I saw there, the first thing I said to them is I woke up not feeling well. And so many people just walked away from me. Which is like exactly what I wanted them to do. And then I just kind of like stayed way on the edge at a picnic table and someone came and sat 6 feet away from me and chatted. And that was really nice. So Jill Draper just launched a new yarn called Amalgam. And Amalgam is designed to go with her yarn Kingston, which I've designed in before and adore, and comes in like, I think 8 or 10 different marled colors. And she wanted to have a solid color yarn for people to play and do some contrast with. And it's a really cool concept because she basically started with this targy wool that she got. And then she had some Welsh Mountain black wool. And what she did, I'm going to kind of hold them all up so you can see them, is blend them at different ratios of the targy to the Welsh Mountain to get a gradient of colors from like the pure cream of the targy all the way down to the other end. So this one's 100% targy. And then this one is 80% targy wool and 20% Welsh Mountain black wool This one's 60% and then 40% Welsh Mountain. And then this one's 76% Welsh Mountain and 24% Targhee wool. I think it's a really interesting way to look at how a bespoke farm yarn can be kind of designed and milled. And it's one of the things that Jill does so beautifully. She puts so much like thought and care into all of the projects and yarns that she mills and the farmers that she works with. So she had sent me 4 skeins of this, and 2 of these skeins are going out to the Clue 1 winners for Into the Hoods, and then the other 2 skeins are going to go out to the Clue 2 winners. So whenever you finish a clue, if you finish that clue before the next clue releases, if you post a photo of that clue on Ravelry or Facebook or both, if you want to, it's fine to double dip. One of you will end up winning a prize. They're going to be different from week to week, but these are the prizes for clues 1 and 2. And thank Jill by buying yarn from her at some point. Her yarns are stunning, and if you've never knit with them, I highly suggest it. One of the things at Rhinebeck that I thought was very interesting is there is a movement to remind people that when they're knitting their Rhinebeck sweater, they can be knitting their Rhinebeck sweater with farm yarn or local wool or something from a farm, something that's like a small batch yarn, instead of working with like a mass produced, like more easily available commercial yarn. Part of coming to Rhinebeck is supporting the farmers and supporting the people who are milling and working with farmers. So I've had an idea for a sweater in Jill's yarn that has been percolating up here for years, like going on 2 years, and I am committed to getting that sweater done for next year. You heard it here first. It's so close up here. I just got to get it out of my brain and onto my needles and then into testing. And I feel like if I'm planning it now, it will happen by next October. So that is my plan for next year's Rhinebeck. And I'm going to try to make it a lightweight enough sweater that you can layer a turtleneck underneath it should it be cold, but also make it so it's a sweater you can wear if we end up having one of those warmer weather days. So Jill's Amalgam, gorgeous. If I hadn't just knit Max a sweater in this color story, these yarns would make an absolutely gorgeous sweater for your man. If you are looking for a DK weight, yummy yarn, Amy Christoffers has this beautiful sweater called the Waffle Pullover that my friend was wearing this weekend. That was like a DK weight yarn held with a dyed in the wool yarn together. And this yarn would be beautiful. If Julie Beth's watching, this is also another option for that waffle if you're making one for Pete. See, I'm helping y'all shop for yarn, 1 skein at a time. This skein of yarn is going to end up being the giveaway that will be given in our next live, and it is from Spain, so that just felt like it was exactly appropriate. I'm almost ready to talk about that, so we'll put that back down. How am I doing on time? Sports ball already started. I'm sorry. You're here with me till the end. Few more things I want to talk about. I went to the Adirondacks in September. Just had a few photos to show you. I went on a women's wellness weekend to a YMCA camp outside of Old Forge. It was freaking gorgeous. The fall colors were beautiful. We stayed like in bunk beds. It wasn't like the most luxurious of accommodations. The food was like perfectly campy and easy. We had hammock time. We had hammock knitting time. I tried to take it easy, but I did a lot of things. I went on hikes. My friend Maura knit a hidola and I got photos. I painted a loon. This is my first paint by numbers. I felt like there were some people doing the painting who had done some of those drunk painting things before. I've never done one of those like sip and paint extravaganzas. I might have helped me if I had sipped a little because I was real uptight about my loon. I did have a good time with it, but it wasn't easy. That's actually one of the hardest things I've done in a long time. painting a loon. I'm not sure I'm quitting my day job. And then over on the other side, I figured out that I could knit and pretend to be climbing some rocks. So that was a good time. It was just a fun little weekend away with friends in the woods. Good to like get some fresh air. Um, I was supposed to teach in Dallas this coming weekend, but that has been canceled. We didn't get enough signups. I think it was a mistake to have classes happening on Halloween weekend when people want to be with their kids or grandkids. And also, I found out that it's the start of hunting season in Texas, and a lot of people like go away, like have hunting cabins, what have you. So it didn't seem like the right time for that. And I believe we're going to reschedule for the spring, but I will let you know if that gets rescheduled. Um, Another thing that is super important to talk about that is going to come out in a Knit for Food email soon is we are all aware that 40 million Americans, 16 million of whom are children, are in line to lose their SNAP benefits as of this weekend. That means people that have a hard time having enough money to get food on the table, who've been getting government assistance that they have planned on and gotten used to having, it is going to potentially be suddenly gone unless something happens quickly to change. And I'm working on an email to send out to everybody who signed up for Knit for Food with some ideas of local actions. I've gotten a lot of emails in the last week asking if we can have an emergency Knit for Food. And I don't feel like we can do that because it's such a big effort and it takes so long to organize that I think it would confuse people and like dilute the need for like speed with this. So things that you can do that I've come up with that seem like they'll be the most helpful is to act locally. Like I've noticed in my community mostly uses like a Facebook group page for communication. Some communities have like a neighborhood works, like where everyone in your neighborhood is in that group together online. I've noticed people posting that they're like have extra food or they always cook too much and they're happy to share with another family. But a family who's in need isn't necessarily going to feel comfortable like saying, yes, please, I'd love some of that. You could sign up for Lasagna Love, but what you could do even better than signing up for Lasagna Love, and I'll explain what Lasagna Love is in a second, is you could post about Lasagna Love in those groups and be like, hey, did you guys all know about Lasagna Love? If you have time and you can cook for your neighbors, you can sign up to bring other people meals. If you're hungry or you've got stuff going on in life and you don't have time to cook, you can sign up to receive a meal. And then people are matched together in their communities, like someone who's willing to cook and somebody who needs a meal. And it's a very like confidential and comfortable way of helping your neighbors. But you can get the word out about that so it's used in your community, in your neighborhood, by telling people about Lasagna Love, because not a lot of people know about it. And you need both people who are in need of assistance to know about Lasagna Love to sign up for it, and people who are willing to cook. So I think that that's an action that feels really doable, like posting about that and then signing up. If you want to sign up to help cook, go for it all the way. But even more, spreading the love about this thing that is just neighbors helping neighbors in a really like simple and elegant way. It's all volunteer run. And I'm really impressed by their organization. We've had them on Knit for Food before telling us what they do. I feel very strongly about their work. And so I think that's a thing that you could easily go do tonight. You can easily go make that post tonight and just share a link to Lasagna Love and let people know about it. Another thing that you can do is if you have community fridges or like community boxes where people leave non-perishable foods, go make sure those are stocked. What I heard one person say, and it really resonated with me, is don't buy the food, the cheap food on the bottom shelf that you aren't buying your own family. If you are buying that, that's fine. I don't mean to be saying it in that way, but like buy the food you feed yourself and put some of that into a fridge or into a pickup spot for other people. Check in with your local community food bank, see what they need. They're most likely to tell you they need money. I think money is going to be the thing that helps them buy what they need most. So if you're in the position to do that, go ahead and do that. But And the other thing I was going to say is maybe you can check in with friends who work in community organizations that you know are serving populations that are in need. Like my daughter works at a Suboxone clinic in front of the Baltimore City Jail. And I was yesterday when we were talking, I was like, hey, do you guys need anything? Like, we can contribute. Like, can we send some subs down there for lunch or whatever? But like, if you have friends who are working in organizations that you know are having more people come in that are hungry, then see how you can help out, and don't put it all on that person. Be like, hey, what if I do this, and then follow through and do that thing. I think that seems like a thing we can do together. Yeah. Sorry if that was long-winded. It was important. I've been thinking about it for the last 3 days. Like, how do I wrap my brain around this to give us some actionable items that we can go out and do, to support people just during this? It's super unknown. Everything could change 17 more times, but it's taking up a lot of energy. And we want to make sure that people aren't hungry, because things get even harder. They're hard, but things get even harder when you're hungry. All right. Thank you. I want to talk to you about sewing. It feels so weird. I know I have to do this in lives. I go from the thing to the thing. And so I just talked about something that's hard and real, and now I'm going to talk to you about sewing. Um, I sewed all weekend to get ready for my photo shoot. It was very fun to just stay home in my pajamas and sew. I alternated between gardening outside. I was supposed to go do some things with people, and I kept canceling all my plans because I was just leaning so hard into being at home and getting sewing done and just getting house projects done, and then making the house a mess and then cleaning it up 3 times. Good times. Um, so I sewed a shirt for the photo shoot, which you're about to see in a bunch of photos as soon as all of those photos come out. I sewed the shift that I'm wearing, which is just this like super simple little black shift that is going to become a great little layering piece. I can already tell I'm going to be wearing it a bunch in the next few years. It's in this really yummy rib. There's a new fabric store that opened up in Kingston that's run by daughter Judy's Patterns. And so we went there, and I got two different rib knits that I really, really like. And then I tried on a jumpsuit called the Isolde jumpsuit that I adore. And I got that pattern. I just have to get it printed, and there's no world I'm getting it done before Spain. So I've kind of given up on that. It's a jean jumpsuit. I can't wait for you guys to see it. So good. I also have one more top to sew for Spain with fabric that I got when I was there last year. I kind of have a rule about making something with the things I bought before I'm allowed to go back to the amazing fabric stores and buy more. So I've got that to do this weekend, hopefully. In terms of like reading, watching, listening, eating, I kind of already showed you that book and talked about some gluten-free baking. I have not been, I've been listening to podcasts, kind of catching up on podcasts. I love Samin Nosrat, and she has a podcast called Home Cooking that I adore, and I've been listening to that whenever they drop an episode. I I've also been catching up on some Glennon Doyle. I think that Brandi Carlile just released an album, and so Brandi Carlile was on, and it was a really fun conversation to listen to. So if you like Glennon Doyle, that was a fun one to listen to. I also listen to the news a lot, as that's my time to keep up with the news. Reading. I couldn't stop talking about this book when I was at Rhinebeck. I just finished reading The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post by Alison Pataki. Marjorie Post was the daughter of, I forget his first name, but Mr. Post, who started the Post Cereal Company, which became General Foods. Was Bird's Eye Foods. They owned a lot. They owned cleaning products. They kind of became this giant corporation, but she really built up her father's company after he passed away. She is the original owner and designer of Mar-a-Lago, interestingly. She also built the Hillwood Estate, which is in DC, which is now a museum, which I've never been to, but sounds interesting. And now that I've read the book, I really want to go. And her life, she lived a lot of lives. She had like 4 husbands. She lived a big life. She had a real mandate towards service. So although she built this huge corporation and was a woman who wasn't really allowed to have control, even though she led some men to some very strong, good decisions, highly suggest if you like, it's historical fiction, so it's, based on truth, and I think then things are like elaborated upon a little bit. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest it if that is a style of book that you enjoy. I just saw Justine said that she's been to Hillwood. I wonder if you've read that book, Justine. Justine suggested a book to me that is on my list called All the Beauty in the World, the Metropolitan Museum of Art and Me. And that is about, I believe, a docent who worked at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So that is on my list to read. Another book that is on my list to read that my buddy Lois just suggested is Miss Morgan's Book Brigade by Janet Skeeslin Charles. And that is about a librarian, I believe, from the US who went overseas during World War II. Don't quote me on that because I just read Lois's thing very, very quickly and then I didn't go back over it again. But those are all on my list to read. I always I download samples to check them out to decide if I want to read them or not. And I haven't read the samples on those yet, but the downloads are downloaded. And then when I was in Rhinebeck, we went into Oblong Books because for a project that I'm working on that you're going to see pretty soon, I needed a good fairy smut book. So I was pretty proud of myself walking into the bookstore being like, hello, show me your best fairy smut. And Max just walked in and he's laughing at me. Hello, ma'am. Can I see your fairy smut, please? And I was looking for a cover and I couldn't quite find the cover that I wanted, but the girl got very animated with me, the person who helped me choose books and was looking and discussing all the fairy smut. Turns out I'm pretty well read in the fairy smut genre because we were like, oh yeah, that one, or like, oh no, I didn't like that, I'm not so into dragon sex, the whole thing, the whole 9 yards. Sorry, not sorry. But she suggested this book to me called The Hotel of Secrets by Diana Biller. And I'm reading that right now. It's set in Austria. It is a little bit spicy. It's not, she said that it's really spicy. And if it is spicy, I apologize ahead of time. It means I haven't gotten to that scene yet because I'm only halfway through. So there is my books that I'm reading. I try to keep my nighttime reading pretty mellow, clearly a tiny bit spicy. Nothing, I don't do mysteries at night. That's not healthy for me. I don't do anything that's going to make me feel very sad at night. Historical fiction works pretty well. In terms of watching, I've been watching The Diplomat. I am almost through the 3rd season right now. I'd say partway through the 3rd season. I hadn't watched the 2nd season on purpose so I could kind of binge with the 3rd. And if you haven't watched The Diplomat, I do enjoy it very much. There's some familiar faces coming back from The West Wing in The Diplomat, so it'll feel like familiar to you in waves if you were a West Wing watcher. And then I am trying to figure out a way to watch The Game of Wool. Have you guys all heard about The Game of Wool? The Game of Wool. You're living under a rock if you haven't heard about, sorry, about The Game of Wool. So The Game of Wool is a reality TV show a la like The Great British Baking Show or The Great British Sewing Bee. It has Tom Dale. Oh my God, am I saying his name wrong? Tom Daly and Di Gilpin and Sheila. Her last name starts with an H, Hallcrow, who we visited when we were in Scotland years ago, and they're absolutely lovely. Those are the expert knitting judges, and it has 10 knitters from around the UK that are competing in a series of challenges to see who the best knitter in the UK is. I don't know. Yep, I got Tom Daly. I got it right. Thank you, Erin. Can't be trusted. My friend and I were like, what are they going to be doing? Knitting and juggling? Like, how are we going to make this exciting? Is there going to be tons of drama? What's going to happen? I think there's going to be crocheting. There's going to be knitting. It's going to be all kind of fiber arts. Maybe there's going to be some needle felting or some embroidery on top of things. I'm sure it's going to get very creative. The first show launches on Sunday night in the UK, and as of right now, it's not streaming in the US. So we're all going to have to figure out our fancy little VPNs. I'm kind of interested to see if I'm going to be able to watch it when I'm in Spain, if there's going to be a way to like link to UK TV. I will keep you informed with any legal way I find to watch it. Um, how's that, YouTube? Take that. Pretty excited. Seems like other people have heard about it too. We all want to figure out how to watch it just to like, I don't know, even if I hate watch it, I still want to watch it all the way. So let's wrap up. Last, as I'm getting ready to wrap up and I'm announcing the winner from last time and then getting ready to give you a prompt for our next giveaway. If you have any questions that I haven't covered that you were thinking about, I definitely I just looked up. I saw Maureen asked me if I get my sewing patterns printed locally. I have before, Maureen, at Noman. It's a little expensive to do it that way. There's a PDF printing service I use called Keith Fabry, Fabry. I'll try to remember to put a link below at the end. And that's where I wait until I have a few sewing patterns and then I send them all at once. So I'm getting ready to do that with Keith Fabry. If you have any questions, leave them in the live chat and I'll look over when I'm done. So the winner of the amazing Ceci Cowl kit is Alice Cantrell 620. She said she'd be so excited for another Cowltober and she'll definitely be knitting into the hoods. So Alice, I don't know if you are here and watching now, get in touch with me. I do not reach out to people who are winners. Sometimes I end up with kind of a pile of things that are the winning prizes that nobody has claimed. I'm going to start to set like a 3-month, like if you haven't reached out to me within 3 months of a live, I'll move on and use that prize again in another way, just so I don't end up with like the pile of prizes that never get given away. This month's prize is going to be a skein of yarn from Wool Dreamers. It's called 70 Varas and it is 100% transhuman merino wool. I am going to Wool Dreamers when we are in Madrid in just a few weeks. And I'm going to learn more about this yarn. I don't actually know what transhuman means, and I'm quite excited to like learn what that word means to them. I believe it's that it has a very small footprint from the sheep to the mill to the shop, and then of course it came overseas to me, and it's in this absolutely glorious kind of, let's see if we can get in there so you can really see it, like little bit heathered green that's really beautiful. It's a fingering weight yarn that's 246 yards. This yarn would make a gorgeous color work sweater, like absolutely stunning, gorgeous work, gorgeous sweater. I saw if people were wondering it was going to be on BritBox. No, it is not on BritBox. I know that for a fact. Another question I just saw posted is there going to be an N Club next year? No, there is not going to be an N Club next year. And I haven't even told this year's N Club members that. This year got really crazy with getting yarns in and tariffs and unknowns, and beads are so much more expensive. And I'm not comfortable charging more for the N Club. I don't think it's worth more than I am charging now, but I have to charge more to make it worth it or get more people to sign up. And I don't think that that's happening right now. So I've decided to take a break. And what that's going to do is leave room for other projects, like Into the Hoods has become this huge project that I've been working on, but I have some other big ideas that I'd love to get to sink my needles and my mind into, and the space that is going to get freed up by not having the N Club. I'm interested to see what I fill it with, and if I miss it, I will come back to it in 2027. So it's not a goodbye forever, but I had said I was going to do this 2 years ago and then I didn't. And now it's time. And a lot of it really has to do with that, the cost of everything and the cost of shipping. Like no one from overseas is signing up anymore because that's not making sense. Like shipping is just costing so much and the beads are out of control. Yes, you can cast. I have plenty of patterns for us all to knit, and I will be designing away. So I'll do more things that are going to be more accessible to other people. I know it's a little sad. I saw a few sad faces, but totally understandable. And I think the wise decision when I put my business hat on for 36 seconds, I'm going to take it off again. There, done. So I don't know what the prompt should be for the comments. You're not going to leave the comments in the live chat to win this skein, but when this live is over, come back and leave a comment telling me something fun about Into the Hoods, like something that you've learned in Into the Hoods or that you think is really funny. I am open to you telling some jokes, make them giggly, just something about Into the Hood, something you're enjoying, something you learned, something you're hoping you learn. You can guess at what we're doing. I think things are starting to get a little bit more obvious as we're getting into Clue 2, but having such a good time knitting everything with you. So leave that comment below. Lola's choice is still happening. She's not going anywhere. So if you're somebody who's in the N Club and you're not in Lola's choice because you didn't want to do both, now might be the time to sign yourself up for Lola's choice and be in that club, because that'll be my one club going forward for a while. Good question. I just reached over and saw that. Thank you all so much for watching. Those of you who need to go watch Sports Ball, go watch it. I really appreciate all your support. I hope you're having a great time knitting. I am going to get off of here. I'm going to post all the links, and then I'm going to go check and see if there's any questions about stitch counts. Happy knitting.